they put in Jameis. It's actually after halftime they put in Jameis. Jameis looking, incomplete. All right, not so great. Brees, are you going back in? Are you going back in, Drew? No, Jameis, let's try again. Let's give it to the guy who...
Give it to your best player.
Just win this for us. We just need you to win a game for us right now. If you're the MVP, go do it. Guess what? He did. Kamara was amazing again yesterday. Bad first half, great second half for Kamara when they need him, but Brees wouldn't return. Bizarre pins and needles game where they win the football game, but the entire time you're wondering, okay, what's the deal? Can I get a report? What's going on? Here's Drew Brees himself talking about why he left the game midway through.
I always worry about halftime because you sit for so long, you know, and so when I came out in the second half and started throwing the ball, it became really apparent that I was not going to be able to be effective. It had nothing to do with pain. It was simply just what my body was going to be able to do or not be able to do.
He looked down on the sidelines with his helmet on. Teddy Bridgewater, Ian Rappaport, also suffering an injury to his knee. What's the latest on these two quarterbacks?
Well, we'll start with Drew Brees right there. Now, of course, he's getting some tests, x-rays, and an MRI on his ribs today. That's what he was labeled as questionable midway through the game. That's what he was kind of battling with. And, you know, Drew Brees is pretty beat up. And besides the fact that he's over 40 years old, you mentioned he came into the game with a flak jacket. He's been on the injury report with what is listed as a shoulder injury. So clearly came into the game battling some things. Just really has not looked like himself. Has been flexing his shoulder. Has been kind of uncomfortable on the sideline the last couple games. So he's going to get more tests today to see if he exacerbated an injury and really to see if he can go. If not, it does seem like it's going to be Jameis Winston going forward until Brees is healthy, but no firm word on how long that is going to be. Meanwhile, Panthers quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, he suffered a knee injury yesterday, was ruled out of the game, did not come back, had an MRI actually last night. And my understanding is, despite not being able to finish the game, this is not considered to be a major injury, not considered to be something that damaged his ACL, for instance. In fact, he has not even been ruled out for next week. So still a chance that he is out there. And obviously for the Carolina Panthers, that is essential really to everything they want to do on Sunday. We will be keeping a close eye on this one as well.
Panthers host the Lions in Week 11. I believe the Saints are at home. They welcome their division rivals, the Falcons, to town this week. Thank you so much, Ian, for the updates all around. Let's talk about the NFC South, gentlemen, shall we? Let's do it. Taking a look here. Saints on the top still. Their defense did rally, of course. They do have a guy who's getting a lot of MVP love in Alvin Kamara. Quiet game for Michael Thomas and company. The Buccaneers turn it around, but they, like I said last week, hot and cold. Never know what you're going to get. The Falcons and the Panthers battling it out there at the bottom. What stood out to you most, though, in this Saints win over the Niners, Kyle?
Well, it's just everything about Brees. I said it during the highlight. I hated the call on Contavious Street. Absolutely hated it. I thought he tried to land on his side. I thought the call came about 2 minutes later. And I think if it was on Nick Mullins, it would not have been called. Let's put it that way. And I also think it really swung the game. More importantly, though, swinging forward, Drew Brees and I are almost the exact same age to the date. I broke my ribs a couple years ago. Unbelievably painful. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't tie my shoes. This is a huge MRI coming back. I personally doubt that he will have broken ribs, because if he broke his ribs, he wouldn't be able to throw at all. I don't even think coming out of halftime wouldn't have been that. However, if he's on the shelf, if he's not himself, like, what is the Saints' plan here? Because I know a lot of people were like, if Drew Brees is out, let's put Taysom in full time. He's got the contract. He's the weapon. He's everything. Jameis came in. It was sort of Jameis light. Short passes, low risk. There was no pick six. There was no huge highlight. And then it was a Taysom-Jameis mix. So if Brees is out, which I think is potential, if not likely, we have this whole thing flipped now. I don't know what the Saints offense will look like, and it's almost like this is a moment for Sean Payton. Like, this is the moment you were born for. You have a couple toys, make it work, get your guy right. Because I do not suspect that Drew Brees will be himself in the immediate future.
No doubt about it. Listen, if they can do what they did last year with Teddy Bridgewater coming in for those handful of games, they could do it with a mix of Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Now, Taysom Hill wasn't perfect yesterday. He had a couple of fumbles. He lost one. He didn't even attempt throwing a pass. He caught a handful of them. But Taysom is a guy that can do everything. So with his versatility, bringing in Jameis and saying, Jameis, I just need you to not turn the ball over. I just need you to have a little bit discernment when you're throwing the rock downfield. I just need you to get it to the playmakers and then let the playmakers do their work.
That's a big ask.
That's a big ask, but he did it yesterday.
Yeah.
What did he do? We just saw him feed Kamara, and we weren't surprised. Okay, give it to the best player on the field. And if you start to catch a rhythm with the wideouts, then you can cook a little bit. But I think they're perfectly fine. I saw Drew Brees on the sideline because of recent history with Teddy Bridgewater. They have everything that they need. And I'm okay with them having a true 50-50 mix. Taysom comes in, defense has to figure out if he's going to run the ball, throw the ball, become a wildcat running back. Then Jameis comes in and takes care of the ball. They can do that until Drew Brees is indeed healthy.
Yeah, and this is why Jameis signed there. He wanted to get a graduate degree in quarterback play.
Yeah.
He wanted to learn from Brees. He wanted to learn from Peyton. Well, he's had that graduate degree education for now 10 weeks plus the summer. Maybe it's a different Jameis. Maybe that was a different.
Right.
Maybe now with Sean Payton and Drew Brees, like Jameis Winston is a more responsible quarterback, and maybe he is capable. Maybe this is his moment that he can step up. I think there's a chance. I think that this is why he signed there. He's like, I got to shed that label, and I've got to learn a thing or two. I would also say this about the Saints. We talk about the quarterback and Thomas and even Kamara, but like these guys are the most opportunistic team in football. Yesterday, I'm watching this game. They didn't win the game on Jameis throwing touchdowns or even Kamara making. They won on capitalizing botched punts by the 49ers. Like, this is what the Saints do. They're excellent in all three facets. And where other teams have their moment, like the Saints find a way to make plays. Whether
6 straight wins.
Harris, whether it's these kind of things where it like goes off Trent Taylor accidentally. Saints are opportunistic. It's not by accident that these things always happen to them. I remember week 1 against the Buccaneers, they had that weird kickoff that
this was crucial right
caused
here.
the problem. This was everything in the game. It was still a one-score game, and there's a fumble, and the Saints are there. They're on it. Look who's right in the middle of it, Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the end of the world if Brees is hurt. I think they're so well-rounded. They're so good on defense, and they're so good on special teams that they can win games like other teams do too without a superstar quarterback. They're that good, and they're that three facets of the game.
Jameis wanted to get that graduate degree. I think he signed there also, learn from Drew Brees, and maybe I have a path to being the starter here. I don't think Taysom Hill was ever going to be the guy that was going to start if something happened with Drew Brees. They're one of the few teams in the NFL to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Taysom Hill got that contract to be that utility guy. And I think from Sean Payton's side of things, it's probably something like, this kid has so much talent. We've all seen it a million times. I'm going to be the guy that's going to get something out of him. It's not going to be Bruce Arians. It didn't work there. He threw tons of interceptions. I'm going to be the guy to make this kid a stud. So it was, I think, beneficial on both sides. And we talk about Andy Dalton being the signing of the year, and we talk about all these backups and the moves in free agency. Like, this might have been the one, and we'll see it down the stretch. I also weirdly think, tell me if I'm wrong, Nate, there's some quarterbacks that if something goes crazy and they have to go in, they're ready to go right away, or they look totally different.